Hey, good morning. It's 4:30 a.m. and there's still a very large drill press in my driveway. Well, let's go on into the garage here. Around this junk. And man, I've got stuff junked up so bad that I gotta show it off. And I'll turn on the lights here. Oh, what a mess. I've got so many things going. Still working on my press. Look at this disaster. Isn't that awful? You know, and I'm still not inspired to clean it up. I got some other things I'm gonna do. Okay, we'll check some of those things out. Hey, here I am back sitting in front of an old brown and sharp milling machine. This old equipment is really pretty cool in my opinion, but if you're trying to make money in a shop or something like that, it's pretty much out of the question because unless you buy my stuff that's all fixed up and going, it takes a lot of time to get this equipment going. Like this Abelson here, it's a 16 by 36, so you can call it like a 16 by 40. And if you compare any of the imports, you know, I'm not talking about the good ones like the Webb, the Cadillac ones, but all the others. Very lightweight machines. Probably you'll be into it $12,000–$16,000 for the better ones. And I'm into this thing, $8,500. This old Abelson in here. Let's see. Old Abelson. Behind me is old brown and sharp, and this is old tool and cutter grinder. And this is old Dawn. Well, one of the funny things, I built this, I'll get it. It's heavy. Here's my fixture for doing those cylinders. It's got a 2-pin back plate that the blade gave me, and if you're going to use 2 pins and you got vibration, be sure to check them, because I found one kind of loosened up a little bit on me. And well, anyway, that worked real good. And I put a photo up of I'll see if I can't do it in this video, of an old Blodgett Shipley lathe, and I took and chucked up, I don't think it was this piece of steel, this is a piece of cast here, in a chuck, and then took and phased it so it's true, and then bored that sleeve out with silver. Let me put that down. And this is the cylinder. And the reason I did that is because I'm going to be doing stuff like this in the future, but I don't have anything to do right now. And I wanted to put the fixture together and test it out, and I did. And I did a video, and it caused confusion and stuff like that. People didn't realize that the sleeves on these aluminum cylinder Harleys are cast in. And you can't push them out. There's no way. Yeah, they got spines on them. You can still see some of the remnants of that cast iron embedded in the aluminum. You have to machine them out. Well, anyway, I searched YouTube, see if anyone removed a sleeve or bored a cylinder like that. I couldn't find anything, nothing. You know, tried it different ways and stuff. And of course, if you put a video out, it's just how weird YouTube is and what they call them algorithms and all that crazy crap. And you know, myself, I find it frustrating and all that, looking at all the technical stuff and all that. I go, you know, all I got to do is just turn the camera on, put a video out there, and if people want to watch it, they can. I don't particularly care that much. But it's kind of fun making videos. I laugh at myself more than anything. But back to that cylinder. A guy, see these these old twin cams, they had a really thick sleeve, you know, and they were 88-inch, and right, I can't keep the numbers in my head. Stock 88-inch when they first come out with the twin cam, and then you could bore that sleeve out a whole bunch and get it up into 90 cubic inch, 90 something, I can't remember. Then they finally made the bike that way. But it left the cylinder walls real thin that you could only go a couple oversized, I guess. And these cylinders here were thrown away by the Harley dealer that was over in Tri-City some years ago. And I picked them out of this junk pile to do something with, you know, in the future, because nobody is sleeving them. But a guy set it up in the lathe like I did and bored it. You know, he wasn't removing the sleeve, but he bored it, and you got to remove a bunch. You got the same thing. Well, you got to have a torque plate on that, and blah, 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 blah. And the guy knows what he's doing. And he tried to explain, but people don't pick up on it. You can take and bore, remove a whole bunch of metal without the torque plates in the way. But this is what he said, and this is how it is. You get to within 10 thousandths of your finished size, within 10 thousandths. Then you put the torque plates on. He's saying 6 to 10. That's kind of what I'm into. 10 thousandths. Let's call it 10. That's a good number. Okay, you put the torque plates on. Now what do you do? Well, in the manual, it says, I have one here. It says in a couple different places, but I'll get into that sometime later, but not now. But it says in practice to go to the next size, 10 thousandths. You do it by honing. And I see people, they don't understand that part. And I think I can demonstrate that with that other cylinder. I had removed the sleeve out. And I'm going to try to set that up and do that and show you a method of honing that somehow has escaped time. And I don't think it's on YouTube. And people don't understand that the only time you use a boring bar is if there's some severe damage to the cylinder and it's going to hang up the hone. Okay. There's a way to use the hone to remove material quickly, and I will show you that, to go to the next oversize and talk about those things. So there's some kind of things missing. So you can remove bulk of material, you can punch a sleeve out crudely, and then when you get to within 10 thousandths of your bore size, you know, that the piston's going to run in, that's when you torque plate the cylinders, okay? Because it doesn't matter at this stage. And a guy tried to explain that. And the video was 13 years ago. And I don't know, it's boring HD cylinders or something like that. And you'll see the cylinder sticking out of a chuck. So that's that. Hey, I'll be back just a second. Over here with an Abelson behind me here. Now, on those Harleys, I'm more or less emotionally detached from them, and I think that's a good thing. I like riding them and things like that, but I was a machinist before I got involved in the dealership and the factory training, so I think I have more of a logical look at it and less emotional. And one of the funny things is when you get used to a product, and that's what that is a product, and Harley Davidson is a product, and it's evolved and it's done this over the years and things like that. But, you know, when you're first working on something like that on your own, you take the engine apart and you lay all the parts carefully out on paper towels, all in order like that. But after you do a few hundred motors, you get a teardown bench, and you just knock the thing apart and throw everything in a bench, in a box. Uh-oh, I got Chloe coming out, and it's too early. Hey, Chloe, come on in here. Come on. It's like 5:30, she can't work. So anyway, after you do a whole bunch of them, you just tear the thing apart and throw everything in a box. And big deal, doesn't matter. So the first thing you start with is the crankcases. And that's the foundation of the motor. And so you start with the foundation and make sure that the crankcases are aligned and everything's good, and a lot of times it's not good. They're made out of aluminum and they warp. There's accident damage. There's that little girl. What are you doing? Oh, we gotta have her here. It is 5:30, and look at that, she wants stuff. What do you want? You want things. You just want things, don't you? Well, just hold on a minute. I'll have to take her back in and tuck her in or something a little bit early for her. You gotta find some gophers or something. Go look for gophers. Go find some gophers. So you start with the crankcases, make sure they're square and all that, and then you can build the crankshaft and put that in there, and there's your basic motor, and everything's got a base off that. So it's just like logical mechanics, and on those old motorcycles and stuff like that, if they run for a while, you can count on nothing being worth saving. But you can take a look at it. But the first thing I do, with all the experience I've had working on those motors, is knock the thing apart, get it down to the crankcases, and then use the factory lapping tool to determine if the main bearing races. The left hand is, on the later ones, will be a Temkin bearing. Then they went back to a straight bearing. The right hand case will have a straight bearing. So the tool goes through the Temkin bearing side, and it's a lapping tool, and you can tell pretty quickly by lapping it a little bit if those bearing bases are in alignment or not. And if they're not, that's the first problem you got to solve, and that's where people make a big mistake, is fudging that. And I will get into those things as I can, but I don't have motors to build now. And I'm going to do some more Harley Davidson work, but I'm not going to build complete engines. I'm not going to do cylinder head work because it's too grueling, too hard for me. All the dealing with the valve guides and all that stuff. I always have to dig it around. I think she's in here, entertaining herself anyway. But what I can do is the crankcase and the cylinders. And in fact, I think all I'll offer is a short block, and that'll limit my liability from the idiots. And that's really a problem with these old motorcycles, is idiots that think they're going to take a vintage motorcycle and keep up with brand new ones in hot weather and stuff like that, and just burn them right to the ground. And there's also the yo-yo that can't install a motor correctly and undo absolutely everything you do. So, that's something to think about, is liability. And I'm in a sue a pants off Santa Claus state, Washington here. Man, talk about liability. And I was asked about finding work for the machine shop too. And I'll show how to build these crankshafts, and that's something a lot of bike shops can't do. But you know, I really don't know what's going on with motorcycles right now. I've just kind of been away from it. But the way things pretty much are now, there's not a lot of work there. I call it kind of a dead end thing, but there's still some stuff to do. You know, the fad's over. You can look at YouTube, and the interest in Harleys and all that stuff is really diving. And at the same time, I think the interest in machine shop channels and stuff like that's diving too. And the reason is, I think a lot of it is cost, being out of reach and space and the knowledge, you know, you need to build up to do things. And what's really interesting about the machine shop is it's so versatile, you know. You can apply it to fixing old Harleys that require, you know, pretty much a Bridgeport in a way to really do anything with. And to snowmobiles, all kinds of things like that. You know, I've made parts for everything from optical equipment and microscopes to trucks. So there's just a wide range of things that need to be made. And I wouldn't really jump in on too much on doing specifically Harley Davidson. That's wow. There's like around town here, people my age bought these things. They had a lot of advertising back in the 90s and stuff like that. You know, buy a legend, it's an investment and stuff like that. Well, they're paying $22,000 for a motorcycle. Man, like 20 years ago. That's they'd be lucky to get $5,000 out of it, you know, if that, because it's sitting in the garage with the dead battery and all the oil drained down into the crankcases. You know? And if it's got fuel injection, that stuff's all dried up and caked up from gas. I don't know. But there's a lot of motorcycles out there that don't run and they're not worth nothing. You know, and if you want a new motorcycle, let's see. I saw the top price of the new fancy one was around $56,000 by the time all is said and done. But one of the problems that's happening, I saw Uncle Tony's garage and things. You know, you take and complicate things too much. And a lot of these motorcycles that are 10 and 15 years old that have the electronic fuel injection, they're not really being supported now. And I see aftermarket kits of a carburetor and some kind of a replacement ignition. And that Uncle Tony's garage, Tony pointed out that, you know, the old guys like us can put points in a carburetor on about anything. And, you know, a guy mentioned that to me about like putting a carburetor on a modern engine, the compression's too high. Well, there's this old machinist guy not far from here. He's pretty cool. He picks up stuff like that. And he got a modern engine running by, he had an outfit that does water jet, cut a thick copper head gasket, and he put a thick, I don't know how thick it was, he calculated it to reduce the compression of whatever the engine is, and I can't remember what it was. But it was a fuel injection, all electronic thing, and he did a bunch of machine work to it. Not a whole lot, but he got the he machined into the cam area and got a distributor working off the cam, the half-time shaft. That's what your distributor worked off of. So he did that, eliminated, I think it had a crank sensor or something like that. No, he bored a hole in there, and drilled a hole in the crankshaft, made a coupler, and put I thought it was cool. And it ran good too. And he put, the engine was like in a dune buggy. And it had plenty of power. This guy's done some crazy stuff. I wish I could get a picture of some of the stuff he's done, but he kind of doesn't like people taking pictures around. He made a radial engine out of a whole bunch of Honda 50 inches by hooking them together in a chain. And he tried to run his dune buggy off that, but you know, the engines kept failing one at a time. So there's a lot of things you can do. Make a radial engine out of old Hondas. But anyway, here I am rambling along. But if you've got the basic skills of machining, and there's a lot of people that teach the basic skills, have a whole bunch of videos, and the most complicated things I do is probably setup. And then when you do the machining, you just go to the basic skills. One of the things I'm doing that's a little bit different is I come from a time, 70s and 80s, when there wasn't quite the availability of carbide inserts like they are now. And I mean, they got carbide inserts, like, it's just unbelievable, carbide inserts. So we relied on tool and cutter grinder. You know, use the basic inserts and stuff like that, and then for the special stuff, a tool and cutter grinder. Then, you know, a lot of shops had a horizontal mill, and it's kind of weird to have a horizontal mill and not be able to sharpen those cutters. You have to send them out somewhere, and that can be kind of a difficult thing living in a place like this. Well, anyway, I want to say good morning. I'm going to quit machining today, and I'll show you what I gotta do. Oh man, get this up. This situation over here, I moved the fabulous Monarch 10EE over here, but it's just too dysfunctional. I'm gonna get that box out of there, and I'm gonna put a shelf, kind of not one sticking out much. And I think I'm going to take that tool holder tree I built, I can't remember where, and I'm going to cut it and have it in 2 sections because it's too long, and I can get everything up there. Of course, I got the all-important faceplate. Some other guy, when I made my first video, made some kind of snide comment about having a faceplate, like I'm backwards or something like that. I don't know. I don't get it. I think a lot of people think they're experts who don't know how to run a machine. You know, and talk about these Monarch 10EEs. What's the deal with that? There's all of a sudden a bunch of these for sale. And then I go, well, you know, I started looking at things. I go, wow, you know, inflation, stuff like that, Bidenomics, you know, hey, I better stay versatile and be able to make a few bucks to make ends meet. So I'm keeping that. And then there's these other ones for sale and stuff like that. And now there's none for sale? I don't know. Figure that one out. But anyway, I'm going to keep this one. I'll be back. I'm going to do my little shelf thing today. I would do some woodworking. Okay.